Board of Trustees meeting at 7 PM on May 19th. Before we get started, I'd just like to say that moving forward, we are going to be adhering to Robert's Rule of Order as best we can up here. Also, I would like to say that as a whole, the board does encourage public comments on agenda items. However, be it noted that it is not a question and answer, is that if you would like an answer to your question, we ask, first of all, that you could either stay after a board meeting and ask one of us individually or the board as a whole, or we are accessible through email or phone, and you could find that information on our website. So on public agenda, for comments on public agenda, please keep it to your comments only and save the questions for later or for email. Moving forward, can we have a call to order?
We can. Trustee Cordova?
Here.
Trustee Constantos?
Here.
Trustee Kozar?
Here.
Trustee Kumar?
Here.
Trustee Alfano?
Here.
Village President Kevin Patrick.
Here, if we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and stay standing for the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Supreme Ruler of the universe, we reverently invoke thy blessing at this time. Wilt thou be pleased to grant that this meeting thus begun in order, be conducted in peace, and closed in harmony. Amen. All right. Do we have any amendments to the agenda? Okay. Seeing none, a motion to... you have a mo-
We had to add something to new business now.
Okay, we could just do that. We don't have to make an amendment to that.
Just make sure.
Yeah. But I will ask for a motion to approve the agenda. Did I get a motion to approve the agenda? Trustee Alfano, second.
Make that motion.
Going to get a second to approve the agenda.
Second.
Trustee Kozar, okay. Roll call vote.
Excuse me. Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Constantos?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Village President Kevin Patrick.
Yes. Okay, moving forward. Here he is right there, the man of the hour. The appointment of Village Board Trustee. The board confirmation and swearing in of Khalid Sabri as Village Board Trustee for the remainder of the term. Cal, will you please step forward?
Actually, can we
Oh,
have the
yes,
board
roll call
take
vote
action?
first.
This is a roll call for.
Motion and a second.
Can I get a motion for the appointment? Trustee Alfano.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, I appreciate it. A second?
Second, please.
Second by Trustee Kozar. Roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Constantos?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Village President Kevin Patrick.
Yes, absolutely. Now, Cal, is your time. Please step forward.
You ready?
Yes, I am.
Please raise your right hand. I state your name,
I, Khalid Sabri,
having been appointed
having been appointed
to the office of Villa Park
to the office of Villa Park
and in the county of DuPage County,
and in the county of DuPage County,
state of Illinois,
state of Illinois,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the state of Illinois,
of the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duty
of village trustee
of village trustee
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chantel. Thank you. If we could take a group picture really quick?
Sure.
Thank you.
ODOT from the Diamond Clowns, but ODOT on behalf of all Medina Shriners and ladies that are here, as well as the rest of the 2,000 Medina Shriners from Madison, Illinois. Congratulations, we're very proud of you. Mr. President. All right. It's an honor to be standing here as well with you as a fellow brother, fellow noble. Thank you for all the good work you do here at the Village of Addison. Wow, yeah, the Village of Villa Park, I'm sorry. It's an honor for me to be able to fez you and call you a brother and a noble as well. You bet. Thank you. Also, do a tie. We have the same tie. There you go, yeah, you and ODOT can match. I've got a couple cufflinks for you, so when you have to dress up, as well as a Medina pin.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. For those of you that are here tonight, I was elected village president on April 1st. With that being said, the rest of my 2-year term had to be filled and appointed by me, the village president. What I did was I opened up the position to anybody that was interested in applying to fill that role for the next 2 years. And I had an overall of 11 different applicants that showed and expressed their interest in filling that position. I was able to interview and have discussions in length with all of those candidates. And out of all of the candidates, I really felt that Khalid really brings a true different dynamic to this board that is representative of Villa Park, and something that we really need here. So congratulations to Cal. Job well done. And a round of applause for Trustee Sadoo. Thank you. Moving along, do we have any public comments on agenda items?
Yes, sir, we do. We have Joe Amore.
Good evening, Joe Amore, 3090 East Maple Street. I want to congratulate President Patrick for his outstanding choice in bringing Khalid to our board. And apologies to all the various organizations that are going to have a little bit less of his time now so that we can have him helping us move Villa Park forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other public comments on agenda items?
No, sir.
Okay, any in the public? No. All right, seeing none, are there any public comments on non-agenda items?
Yes, sir, we have Al Stash.
Hi, my name is Al Stash. I'm a resident of Villa Park for the last 47 years, and I'm here in my unannounced capacity as a cheerleader for Villa Park. So you're not going to hear complaints or any asks from me tonight, all right? And congratulations to you, sir, for being a new trustee, and the others that were elected and sworn in last week. As many of you know, the Village of Villa Park has been going almost nonstop in improving our parks and recreation system throughout the village. The hallmark has been the recreation center. I was there this morning. I've been there 100 times and more since it opened on January 3rd, the soft opening. I was there at 5:30 in the morning, the first one. Okay? I'm proud of that because I think it's a great thing what we've been doing with the Parks and Recreation Department for a long time. And it is not just one person, Greg Gola, who runs the Park and Recreation Department, and he will tell you that. It's a number of people, including everybody that's sitting up here right now, the people that are in the staff positions in the Park and Recreations Department, and the Park and Recreations Department Commission that was run by Mr. Jorge Cordova for several years, or led by them. And there's been many other things, and it's worth taking the time to mention them, and I'm going to do that for a second. In the last 15 years, there has been $11.2 million in grants that have come to the Village of Villa Park for various parts of this new park system that we have today. And that includes not only the Recreation Center, which, as you obviously know, was $10 million, but also Lufkin Park, Lions Park, and the Iowa Community Center skate park, excuse me. And there have been other things that have happened, including Westmore Park, North Terrace Park, the baseball fields at High Ridge Park, which I can tell you, I spent 40 years of my life baseball. Everything from when I was in Little League through every imaginable job for baseball, including building a building behind the backstop at Willowbrook High School in the varsity field, making that happen, okay? So I know when there's a good park, that High Ridge Park is a beautiful, beautiful park. I want to make sure everybody has a chance to go see it. There's also a lot being done at Cortese Memorial Park, and I understand that that's going to be the concert location for this summer coming up, and that's great because it's a beautiful venue, gets lots of people to come and watch. The Great Western Trail, when I moved in 1978, April 1st, behind my backyard, which is now the Great Western Trail, there was a train track. And trains would go down that track to deliver product to Ovaltine and then come back, okay? So there was no Great Western Trail when I moved in. Now there's a beautiful one that's taken care of all throughout the year. They actually cut the grass along that to make it beautiful for everybody, as they do on the Illinois Prairie Path. And they also get the snow off so you can use it in the winter, okay? If you want to ski, you do off the trail. If you want to walk or run or ride your bike, you can do that. And I can tell you that when you get to the borders of Villa Park, there's a difference, big difference. Everybody, I hear people saying, yes, that's true. Lufkin Park, a lot of issues that went around that. It turned out that we have a beautiful new park there, and maybe in the future we're going to have another pool. I hope so. Please work on that. It will make everybody happy. It will do more for our village and make everybody involved. I won't go through the rest of the list because I want to adhere to the 3 minutes, and I know Rolf is eager to impose that 3-minute rule for the first time, and I'm going to not be that person.
For you, Al, whatever you need.
Oh, okay. Well, no. Don't say that. You know how I like to talk. But I just want to mention that there's a lot of good things that are happening in the Village of Villa Park. Everybody who is involved deserves credit, Greg Gola especially, because he took a lot of grief. He took a lot of grief, especially through the pool situation, and it turned out we have a good option there, and maybe in the future something new. I enjoy every part of what has been going on in these last few years, the last 47 years. There was Mr. Neiman who was part of it before, and now Greg, and going forward. But it's important to know that there's a future in the Recreation Department. Don't stop. People from 3 years old to 95 have been in this recreation center so far. okay? There is no other facility that's open 12 months out of the year, more than 12 hours a day during the week, that we can take advantage of, okay? I'd like to run and walk. I've lost 17 pounds since January 3rd. So I thank you for the time to bring these things up, and I hope that in the future, we'll do this more and more often to give thanks to the people that help make things happen in this village. I do that on an ongoing basis to these two gentlemen and their staff, the police and fire department. I'm proud to do that, but I wanted to take time to talk about Parks and Rec tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Are there any others for public comments on non-agenda items?
No, sir, there is not.
Anybody in the audience? All right, seeing none. Moving along to proclamations. We have two tonight. Proclamation recognizing Sturley Funeral Home for their 70 years of service within the village of Villa Park. Whereas, in 1952, Bruce Sturley built Sturley Funeral Home as one chapel establishment on Ardmore Avenue in Villa Park, Illinois, which expanded later, adding another chapel and a family lounge. Archie R. Price purchased the funeral home in 1969 and operated it until his retirement 27 years later. And whereas, in 1996, Hank Ebling III became owner after several years managing the funeral home. Hank continued the high level of service and compassion that made Sturley Chapel stand out as a premier funeral home in the western suburbs. Whereas, in November 2020, the legacy of outstanding family-owned and private and operated service continues as Bob Van Steludian, owner of Knollcrest Funeral Home in Lombard, purchased the funeral home. Whereas the Sturley Chapel staff have great knowledge and experience with people and faith communities in the area and are perfect successors to the outstanding legacy of service provided since 1952. Whereas in 2024, groundbreaking took place for the emergence of a new building for Sturley Funeral Home to continue their 70-year legacy of service in the village of Villa Park and surrounding communities. Further, the village of Villa Park recognizes the history and services provided by Sturley Funeral, and in homage to the original building, a celebration of the life with some special services and blessings planned will be held on May 31st, 2025, and all village residents are invited. Now, therefore, I, Kevin Patrick, village president of the village of Villa Park, do hereby recognize Sturley Funeral Home for over 70 years of service in Villa Park, Illinois, dated this 19th day of May, 2025. Oh, they are here.
That's Bob.
Yeah, here we go.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to serve and continue service.
Thank you.
in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving forward, we have another proclamation recognizing June 8th as Race Amity Day in the village of Villa Park. Whereas, in May 1921, Washington, D.C. hosted a national convention for amity between the races. It was a multiracial interfaith gathering where for 3 days thousands of people assembled in the first ever convention for amity between black and white races. And whereas the village of Villa Park, Illinois supports the Great Seal of the United States of America, which bears the inscription E Pluribus Unum, which translates from the Latin as out of many, one. And whereas the greatest asset of the village of Villa Park is its people. And whereas the village of Villa Park is comprised of multicultural, multi-ethnic, multiracial residents, namely 33.7% of Villa Park residents, or approximately over 7,400 people, identify as Black, Hispanic, or Asian American, or multiracial. And whereas friendship, civility, respect, and kindness are commonly shared ideals of the collective residents of the village of Villa Park. And whereas the Towards E Pluribus Unum initiative of the National Center for Race Amity has invited communities across the United States of America to join in introspection and reflection on the beauty and the richness of diverse peoples of this great nation, while reaching out with a spirit of amity toward one another annually on the second day in June, designated as Race Amity Day. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Kevin Patrick, Village President of Villa Park, Illinois, do hereby proclaim Sunday, June 8th, 2025, to be celebrated in the Village of Villa Park as Race Amity Day, and urge all residents of the Village of Villa Park to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance. Dated this 19th day of May, 2025, in Villa Park, Illinois. Okay, moving along to the consent agenda. The bill listings for May 5th, 2025, in the amount of $170,927.14, and May 12th, 2025, in the amount of $767,034.07. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda? Trustee Kumar.
I will make that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Trustee Constados, second. Okay, roll call vote.
Trustee Cordova.
Yes.
Trustee Constantos.
Yes.
Trustee Kozar.
Yes.
Trustee Kumar.
Yes.
Trustee Alfano.
Yes.
And Village President Kevin Patrick.
Yes.
You missed.
I apologize.
Trustee Sabri. It's a new one, so
Trustee Cal.
trustee.
Trustee Cal for right now, okay?
Okay, trustee Sabri.
Trustee Sabri.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are working out the
Yes.
kinks, but we will get there eventually, okay?
Yes,
There.
yes.
Moving forward with resolutions. Resolution A, the resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving a contract with Davis Concrete Construction of Monet, Illinois, for construction of the 2025 sidewalk improvements in the amount of $288,352. Can I get a motion for the resolution? Trustee Kozar?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Trustee Sabiri. All right. Manager Harline.
This resolution authorizes the village president to execute a contract for the construction of the 2025 sidewalk improvements. This project was publicly advertised and competitively bid, with a bid opening held on April 22, 2025. The village received 7 bids, with the lowest responsible bid submitted by Davis Concrete Construction Company of Monet, Illinois, in the amount of $288,352. Staff recommends approval of a resolution to award a contract to Davis Concrete Construction Company for the construction of the 2025 sidewalk improvements. Director of Public Works, Michael Guerra, is here to explain briefly what the project entails and what this contract accomplishes. There may be an opportunity to come back with additional work, which he may be able to describe to you if you want more information.
Okay, any questions from the board? Trustee Constados.
Yes, thank you. I would like to ask, will the company be approaching any of the residents to offer them having apron work done for the residents that are in that area? And if so, will they be giving a discount to the residents? And another question to go along with that is, will the residents, if they choose to do so, require a permit, or will that be falling under the permit already given?
Go ahead.
So that would be solely at the contractor's discretion. Until we award the contract, we can't have those discussions with the contractor. Some do and some do not. It's the choice of the contractor if they wish to offer private work in association. If they do offer private work, they will need to get a permit through the appropriate channels, because that's not incorporated with the work being performed by the village. So if they want additional private work on the driveway, walkways up to the homes, those sort of things, and the contractor is agreeable, that's a contract between the resident and the contractor, and the village stays out of it, other than help coordinate the work. But yes, the permit would need to be filed with the village, as any private resident would require that work.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, okay. Resolution, this is roll call vote.
Trustee Cordova.
Yes.
Trustee Constantos.
Yes.
Trustee Kozar.
Yes.
Trustee Kumar.
Yes.
Trustee Alfano.
Yes.
Trustee Sabri.
Yes.
Village President Kevin Patrick.
Yes. Thank you. Moving along, next resolution, a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, authorizing the purchase of automated external defibrillators, otherwise known as AEDs, and accessories from Second Chance Cardia Solutions Incorporated at a cost not to exceed $24,719.50. Manager Harline.
Excuse me. This resolution authorizes the village manager to purchase 13 Zoll 3 AEDs and accessories from Second Chance Cardiac Solutions of Yorkville, Illinois, under the State of Illinois Joint Purchasing Agreement for $24,719.50. This amount is under the $25,000 threshold, but this is the second in a series of 3 purchases to furnish the village with new life-saving equipment at the various places identified by the village department heads as needing AEDs. Staff recommends approval of the resolution. So this contract would probably not have to be included on the agenda, but in the interest of complete transparency and to make sure it doesn't look like we're trying to split something up to avoid the $25,000 limit, we brought this before you, and Fire Chief Steve Stapleton is here to answer any questions about the purchase.
Can I get a motion for the resolution? Trustee Kumar, second. Trustee Alfano, second. Roll call vote.
Trustee Cordova.
Yes.
Trustee Constantos.
Yes.
Trustee Kozar.
Yes.
Trustee Kumar.
Yes.
Trustee Alfano.
Yes.
Trustee Sabri.
Yes.
Village President Kevin Patrick.
Yes.
Just a point of order. Typically, we get to talk about it, right? Before we take a roll call?
But yes, if there's any discussion that's necessary, did you have any?
No, I mean, it's
Discussion?
done, but
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I was just going to mention that we have the AEDs. There's videos online for these. They're very easy to use. That's why we picked these. I don't know if you want to talk about it at all, but it is a set it, and it tells you everything to do on those. And the only reason I want you to chime in is because anyone can use them. I know that I've watched that video that Deputy Chief Reposh sent out, and I saw them at the rec center, and just quick overview of how it works, because I know how to use it. The issue is if I need to have it be done to me, I would like someone else to know how to use it as well. So
Absolutely,
just a quick rundown.
Sure. So we had a committee put together with the fire department. You think fire department with AEDs, we actually have more extensive cardiac monitors that we use, but we still carry AEDs in the stations. And what this one in particular is, again, when there's an emergency, all right, you have to resort back to your training or something very simple. You can't get too involved with technology, and there's a lot of AEDs out there that are so complex. This is the most simple AED that actually talks to you in a very nice tone, not like sarcastic yelling at you, but it is, it talks you through it. It gives you feedback. You know, you're pressing down too hard, you're not pressing down hard enough, you're too fast, you're too slow. So what we're trying to do is, remember when we brought this to you last year, is we only had 16 AEDs throughout the village, one of which you see when you walk up. With this new program, at the end of the 3-year, we're going to have a total of 33. So we almost doubled the amount of AEDs that we have. And what's nice with this is they all can talk back to us to let us know to self-check in. Hey, battery's good, everything's good, no one opened my door to use it, or someone used this AED and we didn't know about it. So with that, there's going to be more training village-wide. We rolled it out with the new rec center. We're rolling it out, for example, replacing the existing ones that we have, but some are the new ones. So these 13 are going to be going into places like for the senior activities for the bus. I think it's a good idea to maybe have it when they're going out. And we're also getting village departments involved. We're going to have one for the lawn crew, truck 258, streets truck 11, the utilities truck 23, forestry truck. Forestry trucks is an important one, because if you guys remember about 7 years ago, when we had not a village tree trimmer, but I believe it was a subcontractor for ComEd, on Villa was trimming the lines, and he got electrocuted and cardiac arrest. Fortunately, brought him back. But if, God forbid, something happened with our guys, they're going to call 911, but hey, you know what? It's right on the truck. And we also included with this is not just AEDs. In some of these, you got a nice big bright orange Pelican case with a stop the bleed kit also. We're training them too. I can't take credit for this. This is my deputy, Frank Reposh, is taking the lead on this. And he's just taking it up here. Incredible job. But what this is it's a program. And remember, I always told you, instead of buying, everything all at once, let's space it out a little bit, because then, every time it's little by little, right? It's a little bit more budget friendly. Not only that, but not all of them have to be replaced right now. You know what? They can be replaced in a 2 or 3 year cycle. So I hope that answered your question on it.
Absolutely.
But if you're looking for training on it, you can contact us. We still do CPR, first aid training throughout the village for not just department heads, but we also put on classes also for the general public. So,
Awesome. Thank you, Chief.
yeah, absolutely. Anything else? Thank you very much for supporting us on this.
Okay. Moving along to unfinished business, we will continue the discussion of the parental leave policy. If staff would be willing to put on their presentation.
Oh, I wanted to add some other things to unfinished
okay.
business. I didn't know if that was an appropriate time.
Yeah, we can,
Okay.
absolutely.
I would also like to add an update on the budget printing and compliance on the online posting, an approved budget rather than a proposed budget, and then an audit update for fiscal year 2024. From last year's notes, June was the goal, and do we have an update on that? Those are the two updates that I'd,
Okay.
after we have this presentation.
Oh,
Before we move into the discussion of the parental leave, is there any more unfinished business that we should talk about? Okay, seeing none. All right, thank you.
All right. So I included in the agenda some more notes to kind of go over to discuss regarding the parental leave. And there's also some new points that have come up in that time that might be pertinent in helping the board make their decision. So one of the things that I wanted to mention is that right now, there is a bill, HB 3908, and that's the Firefighter Paid Family Leave Act. And so I just wanted to make a note of that, as maybe it's something that you would want to take into consideration as we develop what our staff parental leave policy could be. Right now, that bill provides firefighters with 6 weeks of paid family leave, which they can use for the birth of a child or in order to care for the birth of a child, newly adopted child under the age of 18, or newly placed foster child under the age of 18, if the child is incapable of self-care. And they must be employed within 1 year. So just putting that into consideration to see that hasn't been approved yet. It has passed the House, but is waiting for it in the Senate. So I put together all of the different options that we have, right? So I kept in mind that starting with a baseline of 6 weeks and then going up to 12 weeks. And that could be as part of the paid parental leave, or one of the areas that we were researching was to provide paid family leave, I'm not sure if everyone is aware, but in some of our departments that are outside of the IMRF pension fund, there is a lack of short-term disability and some other plans in place to allow firefighters, police, and other employees to take time off that is paid if they are injured outside of when they're not on duty. So I just wanted to present that to the board, that if you would like to consider a paid family leave, the Village of Roselle has implemented this. So I thought it was something that I could bring up to discuss with you. So also in the notes, I just went over what some of the costs are going to be. The costs are very variable. It's very challenging to come up with what the total costs are going to be for this plan. So all I was able to do was put together some of the direct costs that are known. So when we're looking at employees that are going to be off work, we have temporary staffing considerations. We have overtime considerations for employees that have to take care of or have to cross over and cover the shifts for certain departments where we can't hire outside staff. And so, as an example, in one of our departments currently, we have a couple of employees who would be out on leave, and I just wanted to use this kind of like a real-life example as what the cost would be to the village. So to have those two employees off on leave is going to be about $34,310 to have temporary staff come in. Now, we know that whether that employee is paid or not, they're still choosing to be off and be covered by FMLA. We still need to have those temporary staffing to come in, right? So they're still going to have to cover that. The only difference is that if we have a paid plan, any of the accrued vacation or sick that might have been utilized for that time off would then be put in a liability for the village, because that is part of the policy that we have in place to pay out if an employee should leave the village. So that is just an outstanding liability that we would have to take into consideration. So in general, not a lot of municipalities, not a lot of villages, not a lot of districts are implementing paid leave. We would be one of the early adopters out there, and that would be a differentiation for sure in the market right now. And I've had staff throughout my career who have come back to work after just a few weeks of giving birth because they didn't have the money to be able to stay out longer. So I think that this is definitely a benefit for the staff with all the work that they do put in. But if there was anything that you would like me to clarify or discuss?
Yeah, you talked about the paid family leave.
Sure.
Can you explain, if a husband and wife both have a child, are they both eligible for those, the family leave, or how does that work?
So under the paid parental leave?
The whole
policy?
family, you said a family policy exists.
Yes, so those are the two options that I presented. One was the paid parental leave, which would just be what we discussed last time in the policy that we drafted, would be just for the birth or adoption of a child. What I mentioned as another option was the paid family leave, which would allow not just for birth or adoption of a child, but that would be for an employee who might be temporarily disabled due to surgery or anything that would qualify them for FMLA under the Family Medical Leave Act. So that, instead of having it unpaid, would provide a portion of it paid, and that's what the Village of
Okay,
Roselle
so
has
that's
done.
not actually for the birth, it's actually for anything else. Any calamity, it's more of a disability policy of.
It would be for birth. It would be for both. It would
Both.
cover both the child for the birth, or if you are a parent who has to care for the newborn child, or for any employees who might be temporarily disabled. Since currently, if you're outside the IMRF, there isn't a short-term disability option for payment.
And how many employees do we have in that pool who are outside IMRF,
Who are IMRF?
not IMRF.
Oh, who are not IMRF?
Because you're saying the people outside of IMRF are not covered.
Sure, so that would be. That would be probably about 60 employees.
60 employees, okay.
Police and fire.
Police and fire, so that'd be, no, that'd be more than that.
Trustee Constados.
Yes, thank you.
70.
So have we considered also, because there's so many questions with this topic for the paid parental leave, can we do a package where, let's say, the male or father is a different time frame from the female or mother that is going on leave? Are we allowed, have you looked into like separating the time, like maybe a little bit longer for the mom, a little less time for the dad, or?
That has not been something that we have looked into. Typically, you don't see that in policies or any of the policies that I have reviewed. Normally, they're both put together. Short-term disability obviously is a
Right.
qualifying factor for
Right.
those who gave birth.
And have you talked with surrounding areas just to get an idea of what the towns around us are offering?
Yep.
And are they all pretty much on the 12-week page, or?
No, that is actually very unique. And in fact, as you know, as I was saying, there's not too many villages or districts in our area that offer paid parental leave. So it's something that is highly unique, that is starting to really come out into the market now. And 12 weeks is exceptionally rare.
Trustee Kumar.
Okay. The 6 weeks paid leave that that has passed through the House. So that's, if that passes, does that mean all our firefighters would automatically be eligible for 6 weeks of paid family leave at this point?
Correct, that's what we're interpreting it as, yes.
Okay.
Trustee Alfano.
I'm wondering if there's a way that we can look at structuring some things kind of like Trustee Constados was talking about, where we look at the needs, particularly of parental leave, not so much as family leave, where I don't think that it's, I think that we can all agree that mothers are needed at home when there's a newborn. And I think that if we look at a standpoint of the mother having some time that's a little bit differently structured than a father, might be something to consider. But I also think that in places where it makes sense, particularly rolling in coming back to work, where you come back to work part-time, or you come back to work half-days, or you come back to work working from home or logging in, and having that flexibility. So maybe it's not that you have a full 12 weeks, but maybe it is that it's a full 6 weeks, and then you're easing yourself back in to coming back to work by the 12-week mark, or something like that. And we haven't talked about what health insurance looks like when we're off for 12 weeks, or 6 weeks, or even 3 weeks, because I would assume that the employee's still paying into the health insurance benefits, but I know for my structure, I wasn't getting any income, but I was still expected to pay, so I had to pay my employer back for that. So I don't know what that piece looks like. If we're paying that currently, do they get paid and then they're expected to pay that back? Are they not getting paid and expected to pay that back? What does that look like now? And then how do we kind of negotiate that when we look at what we can create? Because if we don't have something now, and I think my understanding was when Melissa Wolf had mentioned it, there's not really a structure that we really need to fall into. So let's look at what would make sense.
So in terms of the payment, so it depends. If an employee is eligible for short-term disability, with IMRF, there is a 4-week waiting period that is unpaid. And then they have 6 weeks for a regular birth and 8 weeks for a cesarean. That is paid at 2/3 of the employee's salary, so that comes from IMRF. Employees are also required to use any vacation, sick, or accrued paid time before they go unpaid. So most of the employees do have a paycheck, and their medical benefits are deducted from there. If for some reason an employee goes unpaid, then they do have to provide the benefit premium to the village in order to continue their benefits. But there is some flexibility as to when those are required, whether it's once a month, how long they're out. So it's not too often that they are completely unpaid because of the sick that they are allowed to bank.
And that's with the current structure of 6 weeks?
So the 6 and 8 weeks is part of short-term disability that's governed by the IMRF.
Okay.
So that's typically what's set as the recovery period, and that's why most short-term disabilities follow that number of time.
Okay.
Trustee Kumar?
So if someone is on IMRF, they do have the ability to take the weeks off for up to 6 weeks or up to 8 weeks through their short-term disability. And we have employees, though, who are not on IMRF. What is their situation?
Yes. So if they're not on IMRF, they are eligible for 12 weeks unpaid at the FMLA. So everyone, that's going to run concurrently for anyone who we certify. All the other staff would have to use their accrued personal days, floating holidays, sick, and vacation time to cover that unpaid period.
So there's a big difference between IMRF employees and what they have and the other employees. I think we need to bring that a little bit closer, that I would think we need some corroboration on that. What would you suggest? That's I think where we need to first think about including this 6 weeks, definitely for the non-IMRF employees, because it looks like they have to give up all their sick leave, whereas other employees have something they can take. But I do think that following some of what IMRF is doing, meaning they make you take the PTO first, I think. Is that what you just said?
So during the waiting period, that's a policy that's developed by the village or municipality or the organization. So in terms of the time that's used, IMRF has a 4-week waiting period before they can receive their payments. And so the employees would use their sick time or vacation time during those 4 weeks until they receive the short-term disability payments.
Okay, so it's that they have to, okay, I get what you're saying. So for IMRF, then for the 4 weeks they're using their paid time.
Yes.
So, and that same 4 weeks, then we should, to make it corroborative, we should have that same 4 weeks of used pay time necessarily before this 6 weeks of paid family leave or whatever sets enough for the non-IMRF. I just want to make things equal. It shouldn't matter which group you belong to, how you deal with your children, you still have the same problem. So that should be equated first, in my opinion, before we actually vote on anything else, because that equality, I think, is important for women. It shouldn't matter where they work, whether they get time off for their child or not, and how they do it. So that, I think equality is necessary.
Trustee Constados.
Yes, thank you. Another question, what would we be putting in play as far as for somebody then, let's say, who leaves thereafter? We all know, as being a mom, sometimes you're home, you're taking care of the child, things happen, you can't find daycare, they won't take the baby that small, whatever the case may be. Let's say a situation arises where the female comes back to work, works a couple weeks and says, this just is not going to work for me, and gives notice. What could we implement that would somewhat cover ourselves as far as that goes?
Well, it could fall in line with some policies that you might see in regards to monetary reimbursement, like let's say tuition reimbursement. Sometimes organizations will say if you receive a reimbursement, you have to be employed for a year afterwards, otherwise you have to pay us back. I haven't seen that as an item yet on a paid parental leave policy, but it doesn't mean that it's something that, we couldn't put in place. And then we just have to decide on what the adequate time frame would be and how much they would have to pay back.
Okay, and then, I have a couple more questions. Would this be strictly for full-time employees, not part-time, correct?
Correct. Well, it would fall in line with the policy that we drafted. It falls in line with the FMLA, meaning that the employee has to be employed for 1 year or work 1,250 hours.
Okay.
So there could be some variability there.
And then, if I can ask as well, how much notice would, let's say, the employee need to give us?
So I think in the policy, we were looking at around, 30 days, 60 days, whenever the employee feels comfortable enough, early enough, that they could come to HR and start having those discussions so that we can start setting them up as soon as possible. But yes, at least a 30-day window would provide us enough time to start filling out the paperwork and getting the certifications.
And then, let's say, if there's complications prior to the delivery date or within the window of the delivery date, would that time also be considered part of that leave?
So it would depend if the doctor says that the employee needs to be put out on disability because there's complications for an early, if they're, I don't know the best way to say it, but yes, if there's complications during the pregnancy or before birth or early birth, if the doctor would put that employee out on disability, then we would be able to implement it at that time.
Thank you.
Just to supplement, that's also a policy decision that this board can make too. So the board can make a determination as to whether or not the time counted during any disability leave would count toward their use of paid parental leave as well. So that's something for the board to consider as they're putting the policy provisions together.
So we can, if I may ask, we can somewhat set up our program with the way we kind of want to. We don't have to follow necessarily other, we could say like it's only for full-time or, the mom gets X amount of time, the dad gets X amount of time, and we're able to do that. Okay.
Yeah, subject to any restrictions that other laws would, implicate. But yes, these are all policy decisions that you're talking about that are decisions that can be made by the board.
Trustee Alfano.
Thank you. I do have a couple of questions. A couple revolve around the IMRF waiting period. They do have the 4-week waiting period. Is that kind of like it? Are you saying that it doesn't trigger any of the disability until 4 weeks, or do they get that time back once the disability kicks in? Can you help me understand that a little bit clearer?
So with disability programs, with FMLA, there is a waiting period. So if an employee is only going to be disabled for 2 weeks, they would not receive any short-term disability payments because they have not exhausted that 4-week waiting period time.
So they would have to have that time banked in order to get paid?
Correct.
Okay, and that goes up to 4 weeks?
Correct. So that's why in the policy, we kind of drafted that but we did draft that they would be able to use any paid time awarded to cover the waiting period as well. So they could do it before or after.
Okay, and then have you heard of any municipalities that may have an option to take a sabbatical so that you don't have to worry about if somebody's going to leave when they have issues, and I notice I say when they have issues trying to find any kind of care for an infant, because it is incredibly hard to find care for an infant. And I do know that people do want to work, but you get to that choice where I can't find care, I want to work. And so you do have this coverage of time where you just don't know what to do. It would it not necessarily be a paid sabbatical, of course, but you would be able to hold that spot until they could until the baby grows a little bit and is able to age into daycare. I can't believe I have to say age into daycare, but you age into daycare.
So usually what I see in those situations is what's called a personal leave of absence.
Okay.
We don't have one here, but that is a completely separate, different type of leave of absence that goes up through the approval process as to whatever is designated and whatever our policy would say would fall under a personal leave of absence. And that would be an unpaid leave, designated amount of time for whichever conditions you had designated for.
Could they go in tandem? So if you did take maternity leave and then realize that you would have to take a personal leave of absence, could you use them in tandem?
That would be a policy decision that we make in-house.
Thank you.
Trustee Constados?
Sorry. And then have you considered and looked at the employees that currently work for us of a possibility of remote working and how that might play in?
Yeah, not all of our employees would be able to work from home. That's something that would probably only be for certain administrative staff that would have the capability, but many of our public-facing positions would.
Yeah, if I could address that, yeah, there are places where we have used already where people were off for a variety of different illnesses or injuries, or in one case, pregnancy, where they've been able to do some work from home on their way back. But that's going to be sort of on an individual basis. It would work for somebody who works in an office setting. It wouldn't work nearly as well for a police officer.
Trustee Kumar?
So for that kind of situation, or the step down, step up situation for the, like if we give 6 weeks, and what percentage of employees do you think have that possibility in the village?
Well, I mean, we can go by the last couple of years. Do you have that data handy? I know we've
That
looked
would
at.
be able to.
Work from home?
Yeah. Oh,
So it'd be based on our positions, which would probably.
I don't know. We haven't really looked at what percentage could effectively work from home.
It's about the 6 weeks plus, whatever they could do to kind of step in, which we were talking about a little bit. So to step in, it depends on the percentage. If the percentage of people who can work from home is like 5% of our whole staff, then, I mean, the discussion is kind of almost moot, in my opinion. It's just for 5%. That's not a real viable option then.
I don't know. If I'm going to take
Members of the staff would not be able to, most likely.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a smaller percentage that can work from home.
Correct.
It's 2/3 of the staff would, okay, so that kind of clarifies the perspective of like the step in, step out, is it possible to do stuff outside of being here pretty much to be consistent across employees? The answer is pretty much no. So, whatever leave we give is what leave they get, plus whatever PTO they have. Correct? So, what about having employees take the PTO first before they take the 6 weeks leave? Is that a possibility? Yes.
I'm gonna, who are you looking for an answer from?
I take a lot of issue with that because I think that young babies get very ill very quickly. And so if we want to have people come back to work as quick as possible, they're just going to come back, take time off, come back, take time off, come back, take time off.
Okay.
And I
I'm
think
just- yeah,
we're
I'm a-
trying to make it so that people can come back to work and be paid to come back to work and not have to take unpaid time off.
So, okay.
It takes-
Okay,
negates it.
and so that we'll be okay with keeping the PTO as is, even though they may take it all at the end of the structure. So, I mean, you might just extend your vacation using PTO.
I don't know that they, I mean, I can only speak from my personal experience, and maybe other parents here can talk about that, but came back from my maternity leave, and by the time, I came back in September, and I'm a teacher, came back in September, my son was born in May. Came back in September, I was out of sick days by January, and I was working for free for every day that I had to take off from that point on. And then I still had to pay back at the end of, we get like one big check at the end of the year, the school year. And I had to pay about half of it back because of all of the different things that I needed to pay back. So, I mean, I should have just stayed home. Is kind of what I'm saying. It didn't really make much sense to go back to work. And we want people to go back to work, but be in a place where they are back to work. If we're going to take the time to do this, then let's make sure that it's the right thing for both sides.
So let's talk about weeks. What do you think is the week number? Like, I'm asking out there what you feel is the minimum and the maximum that would be at a friendly point for the employees we have now.
So we were looking at the FMLA guidelines, which is 12 weeks. So in our policy that we drafted, the employees wouldn't be able to use accrued vacation and stay out for 20 weeks, let's say. It was a 12-week period, and now it's just how much are we going to pay under the paid policy. And so that's why the minimum was 6 weeks, because that's what I was looking at. Well, that's the minimum recovery for birth, and which is very, very minimum. I probably could have used 3 times that. So it's just a matter of where you want to fall in terms of liability, cost, employee engagement, and what would be most. So that's why we recommended minimum 6 weeks, maximum 12 weeks.
Trustee Alfano?
So I've been taking some notes because I know that we could be here for a long time having these conversations. And I have a couple of asks so that we can put this on another agenda to continue the discussion. And if anybody has anything else to add to this, please add to it. If we could get our current policy, including how benefits are paid, I know that we talked about that, but if you can show us that, the number of positions that could have work from home rollback, or a rollback to work has a work from home component, the number of positions that could have a part-time to a full-time rollback, a personal leave of absence, what that might look like, or some kind of holding or a position for a year that would be unpaid, mothers versus fathers, some other way to word that, but maternal versus paternal, number of weeks. I don't know what that might look like in other municipalities, or even in other like union contracts, what that might look like. And then Trustee Kumar, I know you were talking about how many weeks we might want to do. I think it shouldn't be any less than 12. That's my personal feelings. And if anybody else had anything else for the list, please include that. But that's what I've heard in this conversation.
Attorney Wolf, I apologize.
Thank you so much. So some of as I listen to some of the policy, the inquiries on potential components of the policy, they're just, as you move through this, a couple of things that I heard we may be limited as a village. The mother versus father component of the leave may have some limitations because of discrimination elements or disparate treatment based upon a different class. So the village may be restricted on having something like that in its policy. However, you can do something like if spouses are at a municipality, they have to split the leave or something like that. That means both of them are treated the same way within a municipality, but to treat a mother differently from a father may be not allowed by law. So I would not recommend something like that. Whatever policy that the village is entertaining should apply across the board to parents, because this leave is something that is above a medical leave, which, the FMLA protects, and your sick leave can be utilized for. This is, the intent of how this leave was drafted was parental time with the newborn child or the adopted child. So from that perspective, you know, a mother versus a father wouldn't have an appropriate distinction anyway.
One of the things that I'd just like to say is that I think this is a very important topic that we're discussing here. We really do care about our employees, and that's why this discussion is essential to that, and that we, I think collectively as a board, want to make sure that we're doing right by our employees. One of the things that I'd like to see happen here is that this continue to be a discussion point under unfinished business moving forward with our meetings moving forward. But I'd also, in the meantime, between now and then, I would like for the board members, if you have any direct questions or comments or concerns, email them to me directly, so that way I could collect them and get them to the staff, so that way they could prepare more speaking points for our next meeting. So that way, as we go along, we can chip away at this and finally fine-tune what our policy is going to be. So moving forward from this point on, I'm just requesting that board members go ahead and do that. Trustee Kumar.
I just quickly, there was a lot of things that Trustee Alfano pointed out, but I also want to know, because of IMRF employees versus non-IMRF, there is a difference between the two, and how that would stratify the leave process. If we gave them 6 weeks, we gave them 12 weeks, what would that mean to us? Maybe not even if you can't give us a cost, at least in terms of days lost, like, you know, total days that the employee would be out, including everything they roll in. Maybe then we can think of cost in a day's way. It's going to be different from employee to employee, what they get paid on a daily basis. So it's more about days lost than anything else here that we want to see.
One of the other things that I would like to see as well is maybe a side-by-side comparison to what the county's new policy is compared to the different ones that we might propose as well. I think that would be important going forward. Trustee Cordova.
Yeah, just two small things. I do agree, there shouldn't be a distinction between even, you know, a mother and father. I happen to have friends that happen to be two males that have a child that they adopted, and it gets a little dicey there. The second thing is, even if this does take another month to get done, we should have some kind of retro, as we have a person on staff that is currently pregnant that is due in the next couple of months, I'm not sure, and then we've had one that has just had a baby. So I think we should do those two things, or do that for them as well. And then outside of just the leave, I think there's some, you know, this is an email that I'll forward over to President Patrick here, but there is more to just having some time. And I'll just quickly say, you know, as we look to building a workforce that stays for a long time, we're talking about retention, you know, having people to feel supported during major life events, this is one of the most major that you can have. Recruitment, you know, as we go through and we have people retiring or moving on, how do we get a viable person come in? This is a recruitment tool as well, to say, hey, we are a municipality that is progressive in our thinking for our working parents. Culture, I think just in general, having this to be part of our culture would be a great piece that we can offer. And then planning, and the last two things are planning. Typically, most of the time, and I know this isn't for everyone, but you kind of have a good idea as to when you're probably going to have a baby, right? You have about 9 months to kind of figure some things out. Sometimes you don't know. There's a whole TV show about this. But we can plan. We can have plans. We don't need a 2-week run-up, you know, type thing. So if we need to forward plan on temporary staffing, backfill, whatever it would be, I feel like that would be kind of something that we could be really smart about. And the last thing is, again, the equity piece, where sometimes modern families, are not a traditional mom and father. So we have to kind of think of that, number one. But then number two, if we have a working mom that has 0 time off here, and their father or their partner or their parental spouse, whatever you want to say, does have time, you know, we're leaning up on our staff's, you know, spouse or partner to take on the brunt of that work. So that equity and equality piece should be here first and foremost of how can we understand, and I don't know who said it, if somebody works at another municipality, can they split time? I don't think we should have to kind of deal with that sort of thing. I think we should have a plan that takes care of our person as well as their family. So weeks, I'm not sure what that looks like. I was advocating for 8 at least. 12 sounds great. The pricing or the budget, whatever you want to call it, the cost analysis, looking at that kind of, yes, there's a not a discrepancy, there's a difference there. Is it a lot? Is it not? I'm not sure. That's, we have to look at our budgets and our ability to finance that stuff. So retro, equality, and it's much more than just some time off.
And I think that's the power of collaboration, the power of discussion that we have up here. And that's also the benefit of us being able to take the time and discuss this in great detail and in length, is that we can absolutely fine-tune this to what works specifically for Villa Park, and taking all of those things into consideration. And I think that's why it's important we continue this discussion, keep this as a regular bullet point on the agenda, and make sure that we keep chipping away at this until we have our policy nailed down. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So moving forward, is there any last comments before we move on to new business? Trustee Kumar.
I think you already stated this in your last report, but the average number of people who are out who would be pregnant in a given year, that's good to know. I believe it was in your last
Yes.
report, but let's just update that with this information.
Sure.
And bring it into the new information, so it's all together.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. I already started putting that together for 2025 as to where we are today, and I could put all that in with the next one.
All right. Moving along to new business, we have a report on electric
Unfinished
scooters.
business. We still have unfinished
Oh,
business.
unfinished.
Yeah, a couple more.
Okay. Unfinished business.
Update on budget,
Oh, there
printing
we
and
go.
compliance of online posting and approved budget rather than a proposed budget.
Yeah, exactly. And I just wanted to just say that usually in our budget document, we have someone assigned to the actual publication and uploading of that thing. The person who did it last year is not here anymore. The person who was assigned to it in our group is not available to us anymore. So it's down to really my work and my publication and making sure this thing happens. Not to say that's an excuse thing, but that's kind of what happened in the actual physical document of what we have long since approved and are working under. My expectation is to get it completed in the next couple of days, get it to the printer by the end of the week, I'm hoping. The person who was working with this before said it would be a couple weeks. I'll try to expedite that so that by our next meeting, all these things will be resolved. So a little bit of a drag because I had to kind of do some hands-on things with the document that is normally not the purview of the director, but we'll get that done. And it's good that you bring this up so we get this thing in place. As far as audit goes, with our implementation, and we use BSNA as an excuse almost all for everything, but this is a case where we did have an impact, where we had staffing needs to be other places. Our auditors wanted to come in and begin their field work, but some of those really detailed analyses are not in place. I've worked with Manager Harline to get us some additional resources for that, and I've been working with actually an audit or a component of our auditors to get some of their staff to kind of augment us so that we're ready and we don't drag on our audit for a length of time. I'm going to talk with them tomorrow. So we'll have a better idea when that final fieldwork's going to take place, and that it won't be a big delay like it was last year. But again, another kind of consequence of a small staff being engaged in other projects. But we're working on it, and we'll keep that on our agenda, and we can get updates as we go along.
So just put the finer point on that, I'd say that there's probably a 95% chance that we have I'd say higher than that, but I've been wrong before. So 95% chance that you have the full online version with all the pieces electronically by the June 9th meeting, and probably about I don't know what the percentage of having it actually published in a book form by June 9th, but it won't be, it's probably less than 50%.
So, Attorney Wolf, can I ask the same question that I asked a few weeks ago? Are we in compliance then with, by having a proposed budget instead of an approved budget online?
Yes, the answer is yes. The Illinois Municipal Code does not require the publication of the approved budget. It only requires the publication of the tentative budget, which the municipality did before budget adoption.
Okay, so my question was, are we out of compliance? And you said yes.
You are in compliance.
We are.
You are. The village it still remains in compliance with
Okay.
the Illinois Municipal Code.
Okay, so my question was, are we out of compliance? But we're not. We are in compliance. Got it.
That's correct,
Okay.
yes.
And then the audit is, when is that typically supposed to be done? Or is there a time when that's supposed to be done?
So audit for a city our size typically will be done ideally in July, and August is a little late, September, October is not, as much.
And one of the things that comes into play when your audit gets delayed, there are other compliance entities who want to see your audit in place. And the longer it is, the more time it takes, and we got into the same thing a year ago where we had to extend some of the other compliance measures because our audit's late. And this is, our starting early was a way to kind of not have that happen here in this cycle, and we expect it not to be an issue here in the next cycle.
Only last time it was delayed, but it was for a different reason last time,
Yes.
correct? Okay. All right, thank you.
Trustee Kumar.
Can we trust that, you said 95% for the online. Can we give it another month for the actual printed? And can you give us a 95% for the printed at that point?
That's the middle of June.
Oh, but we should, if we don't have it done by the end of June, that's something additional.
Yeah, I don't expect
catastrophic
any
would have happened.
extensive delays. It's not that.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna start putting.
Let's recommend.
He asked me to spend money, I'm gonna start putting money.
Yeah, because I think,
It's not okay to not have that done.
No, it's not okay. We should really know where we are financially. I'm really frustrated that we don't have it, that we can't look at it. We're asked to spend money, we're asked to say yes, and we don't have that. And it's May 19th. I'm really frustrated by that. I'm sorry, Manager Harling, but it's not acceptable.
I have to corroborate on this a little bit. We should have the financial matters done. One, we want to give paid parental leave and everything. We're making decisions on finance. We need to know where our finances stand. I am appreciative of the finance reports coming a little bit more regularly. That is very appreciated. Thank you for that. But having an actual budget, following it, for those who are kind of the numbers persons, that's the way we work, and we kind of need that. So I agree, we don't need a printed copy. I'm very happy if we get the online copy, I think, right away. The printed copy is helpful for those of us who like to go back and look at it and kind of check numbers, then see how many days we have left and what our reserve is and things like that. Because it is a concern. We've been spending a lot and we need to know where the numbers sit.
So
Yeah.
mistakes have been made. That's okay. That happens. It's part of being human. But in the light of moving forward, what do we expect our budget process for the upcoming year to be? What is that going to look like? How are we as a board going to prepare for the 2026 budget moving forward?
Well, I mean, I can get you a calendar for the 2026 budget at the next meeting. I mean, I can get it to you before that. It's already drafted. But ideally, we should be start talking about large budget issues in July at this level. And then we have the capital items go out to the department heads starting in July. And I'll get you the whole process. But, I mean, ideally, we have the first budget to you. We do a budget workshop the third Monday in October. That would be the third year in a row we would do that, third or fourth year.
One of the things that I'm going to request then is that in July, that we have a public meeting that allows our board to come together and discuss what their ideas are for those large budget items are going to be.
That'd be great.
I think that gives us direction as a board of what we're looking at now that we have this new comprehensive plan moving forward as well, and how all of those budget items tie into that comprehensive plan moving forward.
And the strategic plan even more so than the comprehensive. Yeah.
So in July is when we should have that meeting, so that way we could have that discussion and also allow the public the opportunity to give us their feedback as well. Trustee Kumar.
Also with this budget issue, I think also you are very short-staffed, it looks like. I'm wondering what the staffing, even you're leaving, Chuck, so it's a little bit scary to see that we'll have a big hole in the financial sector somewhere. But what's happening with the staffing?
Do you mean the finance director?
Yeah.
Or the department in general.
Finance director has been named, and they will be here May 28th.
May 28th.
May
Susie
28th.
Micah?
Okay.
I sent that out.
Yeah, I might not, I've been very busy.
Okay.
That I might not have seen. I
Okay.
apologize for that. So May 28th, we get a new finance director. And so the filling of staff will come by this new finance director, I
Well,
assume?
then, yeah, we have one position that is open that we didn't fill the last 2 months, particularly because we knew we were going to get a new finance director.
Okay.
So that is a position that was held previously by Julie Settles. So that would be a priority for that person. And she's aware that one of the key things is to work with the staff. Right now, we actually have a temporary person that's working for the finance department, which puts our FTE at the same number as we had before. I think over the years, we have taken people out of that department to the point where if we have 1 or 2 people missing, it's a pretty big blow. So I think one of the things to look at is can we afford to add one more person in that department, or reevaluate, make sure we've got the right people in the right seats, which is something that Ms. Micah will be working on.
Okay, so our new finance director will start working on that, I assume. And when is there's going to be some learning curve, I assume, the finance
Well,
position?
yeah, there is. She's familiar with BS&A. She's worked with Chuck before and others.
Okay.
She's been a finance director in other communities, so there's
Yeah,
always.
for some reason, I just missed that.
No.
Okay, sorry. So I was a little,
That's okay.
My replacement comes with a lot of talent, and I have a lot of respect, and really
okay,
think that it'll be fine in the transition.
okay, just making sure.
Thank you, Director Howard, appreciate it. Moving along, for new business, we have a report on electric scooters, which kids across Villa Park are not going to like, but parents will be very happy. My request before we get into this is just if we could get an overview of the state law, when this was put into place, and what that means to Villa Park, and what kind of action we might have to take moving forward. Manager Harlan.
I believe that the police department has actually prepared this report, so I'm going to turn this over to Chief Rivas.
It was actually Attorney Wolf who had prepared the
prepared
suggested draft
agenda,
of
the
this
draft,
ordinance.
Right.
Well, the state law went into effect in August of 2024. And it said if you want to allow e-scooters, you have to create an ordinance. If you do not, then you do not allow them. Our friends to the east in Elmhurst, they have no policy on it or no ordinance, which means they're not allowed at all, the e-scooters. In Lombard, they are allowed, so they do have an ordinance that covers that. And basically, the draft that you see in front of you mirrors the state law that says the scooter has to go 10 miles per hour on a road that's 35. I would recommend to drop that even that much more, which then would allow that scooter to be on St. Charles at 30 miles an hour. I would have it mirror also a lot of the things that are in the Lombard ordinance, because with the same topography, we have the same trails. Not that the e-scooter can go on the trails, but we do have a lot of the same streets, smaller streets, and that's what the e-scooter is basically for. And there's an age restriction of 18 and above. which is not going to make kids happy. It's not going to make parents happy. So if we go ahead and pass this ordinance, one of the things we're definitely going to have to do is going to have to be a period of education when it comes to dealing with families and a lot of patience on all sides in dealing with this and talking to parents, talking to kids, getting information out so they're aware that kids cannot use them on streets. They're going to use smaller models, small representations of any scooter that either they propel themselves or that are electronic and they can use a throttle then. They're still going to do that. In all these communities where you see ordinances against the use of an e-scooter, there's still kids using them. And that's the reality of what we're going to have to deal with. And we're still going to get a lot of calls from concerned individuals, concerned patrons, concerned people driving by that are going to have to deal with these scooters that are on the roadways. One of the things that are also in the ordinance that mirrors the state law is the equipment that's going to have to be on a scooter, especially if you use a scooter that's going to have a headlight that's going to be able to be seen at a certain distance in front, and then a rear light, a tail light that's going to be able to be seen at a distance. It's going to have a brake. There's some ordinances that say you have to have a helmet if you use this scooter, and that's a decision we're going to have to make. So not only in addition to that, I think we also have to create a map that comes along with this that shows exactly where a scooter can be used if we allow it to be used in the village. If that's a good starting point for you, if you have any questions.
Trustee Kumar.
So currently, by state law, we cannot, I know that's, under 18 cannot use e-scooters, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So currently, under state law, unless it's permitted by the village, these scooters are not, they're prohibited to be used regardless of age at this time. But if the municipality permits the use of those scooters, they do have to regulate those scooters in accordance with those restrictions that were identified in the Illinois Vehicle Code.
So have we permitted them, or we have not?
No, part of what this ordinance will do is permit the use of them on any or all of our streets where bicycles are permitted. As the chief said, there may be some that are designated. But if it's permitted, you have to do that by ordinance. And then you also are obligated to regulate the use of those scooters on the village's public ways in accordance with the Illinois Vehicle Code restrictions.
What are the fines and fees if we actually pass this ordinance as it is? It's in there, right?
We would establish those. This ordinance is not an ordinance that is connected to the village's code. This is just a template ordinance that lays out basically the rules and regulations that are required by the state law, and it's a draft. So the fees, if there's a violation, or fines, or how the penalties would be processed, would be specified for the village.
Because I think if we do permit it, as Chief Rivas very clearly said, irrespective of what we do, people are still going to drive them and not follow, then you have to have a policy of fines and fees involved in order to prevent that. It's not enough only to inform people that they shouldn't do it, because it doesn't have any binding agreement when you say, don't do it, right? So fines and fees are a large part of getting people not to do it. If my kid's not wearing a helmet and driving a thing and I get a stiff $200 fine, I will very quickly say, sorry, here's the bike. That's what'll happen as a parent. So that's something, that needs to flow into this.
Chief Rivas, when we're talking about the role of enforcement, what does that look like? Does this become an initiated stop by a police officer, or how does enforcement work with this?
Absolutely, and that's what I was going to get into. That's why I had my hand raised. In practicality, if there's a complaint, I think is how we would answer this. Would there be a traffic stop? If the person is doing something that's illegal, if they're going down the wrong way on a scooter, let's say, or they're operating it in a manner that's reckless, then definitely we would stop that person. The ordinance, as suggested, does provide for us to seize the scooter. Obviously, if it's a child and you have that back and forth, discussion with the parents, you're going to probably end up returning it back to the parent because that's a large item, costly item, and just say that until they get to the age of 18, they can't, excuse me, they can't use this on the roadways. But if they are issued an ordinance violation, they would go before the adjudication process. So they would have their due process to at least argue their point. And then we would then, in a finalized copy of the ordinance, have a finalized fee structure. Because one of the things that it doesn't apply for is like second and third violations committed by somebody. That's still going to be at the discretion of the officer. Because we would not have access to that information. We would in a traffic situation, if somebody's been given X amount of tickets or the license is suspended, we would have that information readily available to us through a lead, through a computer. But with an ordinance violation, it would take a little bit more longer time to look that information up to see if you have second and third violation. So again, you would leave that up to the officer's discretion. If they were to issue a violation, then that person could have the option to pay that fine or go and have their due process in front of an adjudication hearing officer.
Is that violation issued to the legal guardian?
Oh, there's a whole nother discussion on parental responsibility. But also the act of a child or a teenager, it must be malicious in order for that to be. That's a whole other legal discussion. And I don't know if we want to go down that rabbit hole. But let's say in your example, a teenager uses it in a malicious manner, there could be some remedy at hand for a person who, let's say, has their car damaged or property damaged by somebody who's using it in a malicious manner. If it is an accident, a pure accident per se, and they're underage, the parental responsibility may not be covered under that.
Okay. Thank you. Trustee Cordova.
I think there's a lot of avenues and a lot of discussion here because there are a tremendous amount of responsible users of these things, and I've seen kids with helmets, wristbands, the whole thing. I coach. My children do not have these. I think they're very dangerous and they're very costly. But in the morning, you see kids going to high school. You see kids going to Jackson, to the middle school. That's where we go. Helmets, they're going on either the sidewalk or on the bike path or whatever it would be. You know, we're taking accessibility away. We would be taking accessibility away from these children to get to school early. I know there's bicycles, and it's why would any of us want to ride a car if we could ride a bicycle? Like, it's the same thing, right? It's just there's a level of convenience here. I'd like to see us get creative here and either create a license of sorts. You have to take this 2-hour course through whatever it would be, to get a license, and you have a lanyard, whatever it would be, in order to do this. You need lights, you need safety equipment. You need to, it's almost like a rules of the road. We give 15-year-olds the opportunity to drive 3,500-pound cars around. This is a lot smaller, a little bit more convenient. I think it might be a little safer. I'm not sure. That, and then the second piece is, the fee schedule is always scary for me for the only reason that, in general, as adults, there are a tremendous amount of people that are $500 away from being absolutely poor, just out of anything, right? I don't think we should be. I get the malicious part. If you're out there stealing something and you're getting away on a scooter, yes. But if you are riding your scooter home from cross-country practice and there's no bus because you're off at 5:30, whatever it would be, do we want to bust a 15-year-old on the honor roll that is making their way to the National Honor Society and say, no, now you're going to have to go to court and do a very grown-up, scary thing? So I would say, I know this is a template, but I think that we should be a little bit more creative in understanding the use for our community and how people are using these to get around, number one, why they need to get around, and then number two, just making it safe for not only people, but then also just other pedestrians and just law enforcement. And then the last thing for me is, do we want police officers pulling over a 14, 15, 16-year-old to write a citation for them, using a scooter, or would you rather them stopping an actual crime?
I think it's important also to empower our officers to have that officer discretion. And I think that's a big part of this as well, is that when an officer is allowed to do that job and have that discretion, that can go a long ways to alleviate some of those concerns as well. So I think moving forward, too, we need to find a way to empower our officers to have that discretion when making decisions on whether or not to stop individuals on scooters.
If I could just add one point of order, we cannot be less restrictive than the state law, so we can't lower the age. If that was the case, then some communities that have bars would probably lower the age for drinking, if that was, to draw a correlation. So it is 18, and that is a hard and fast.
That's the hard stop?
Yes, that is a hard
I
stop.
wish somebody would stop me.
Yes, and it doesn't mean that kids are not still going to the schools. My school resource officer is inundated with complaints from teachers and school staff saying, well, this person's on a scooter, what are you doing about it? And currently, under how the law is written in the state, they cannot be on those things, but our school resource officers who have a litany of things to do in a day choose to move on from that.
Yeah. So, trustee Alfano.
Thank you. With whatever we decide to do with the ordinance, I would really encourage that we have helmets. I think that that's really important. I think that, I used to ride my dad, motorcycles, not scooters. I used to ride, I have a motorcycle, I haven't ridden it here, not a scooter, but it's, after you have one bad fall, you don't forget it. And those helmets can save your lives. I think even on a scooter, kids think they're invincible. 18-year-olds think they're invincible. 25-year-olds think they're invincible. I do understand that there is some convenience to the electric scooters. I also think that bikes don't hurt. I also think that I walked everywhere when I was a kid. It was part social. It was part, because out of necessity. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that either. But I also, I'm also curious to know, are they allowed on bike paths?
They are not, because they're self-propelled. And if you want to get into another discussion of e-bikes, there's 3 different classes of e-bikes, and I can break that down for you too, because understanding what your direction and your question was, we were already looking at this subject. So we were a little bit ahead of the curve on this, so thank you for your request. But the e-bikes is a whole nother discussion. Class 1s and 2s are allowed on the path. Class 3 e-bikes, which are fully self-propelled and have a certain wattage over 750 and a certain speed that goes beyond what is allowed on the path, which is 15 miles per hour. And that is their rules.
Thank you.
All set? Trustee Kumar?
You said something about you would want to bring down the speed down to what Lombard has to 10 miles. Is it only if we don't mirror the state?
That is in the state law, is the speed of that scooter. What I'm requesting and suggesting is that you only allow those scooters on streets where the speed limit is 30. In the suggested ordinance that we have in front of you, it says 35. If you allow 35, they can be on parts of, let's say, Roosevelt. And you're not going to want to be traveling the speeds you are and then come across a scooter on a state road like that. Not that we can legislate on a state road, but still, that's 35 is a very fast speed. I would suggest 30, because then it still allows you to be on St. Charles. It definitely allows you to be on all the tertiary streets in the village.
And that would only be for those who are over 18 in the first place. We're basically suggesting this rule for those over 18.
Yes.
Okay, and then what process do you suggest for those under 18 to get the word out? Maybe they just don't know better at this point as to their options, because that's something we are going to have to do if there are people running around under 18, now that the state law is in effect.
I think relating to what the chief said earlier is there has to be like an education campaign awareness that goes out with that. And so maybe as we talk further about this or with the police department and having that officer discretion is when they do make these stops or talk with people, maybe instead of writing a citation or a thing like this, they hand them a flyer that explains the rules of the road, the new procedures, kind of a warning at first. But definitely education plays a part in this. And again, we're not going to be able to tackle all of it like the chief said. But at the end of the day, too, it's based around safety. So just making sure we're safe.
The warning aspect, I agree, the warning is fine. Even, a couple of warnings, kids do respond to warnings at one point. But I think also collecting as the chief did say, it's a pattern of action, then it's more of trouble than if one kid gets on an e-scooter once because they just don't know better. So that pattern of action, collecting that is going to be obviously up to the police and discretionary. Nobody's taking that away from their discretion. They know best. But at the same time, it's something to keep within our files, how this is getting out.
Sure.
And stuff like that.
Trustee Alfano.
I think it would be a great idea, especially around the holidays, to make sure that parents know that this is something to not purchase for anybody under 18. I don't know how to get that out exactly, but
And I was just going to suggest that some of the best ideas are stolen. And our neighbors to the east and west have a flyer that they put and they posted on their website, and it explains e-scooters and e-bikes in very short, succinct discussions and bullet points.
Just want to follow up with I want to make sure I understand. Are you suggesting that we take down names of kids who have been doing this with the police, take those down, and then look for repeat people that they catch?
No, they said that it's just like anything else, a traffic violation, they have that information. They don't have it for an e-scooter person who's running an e-scooter every day. Kids will be kids. Honestly, they're going to ride their e-scooter until someone says, it's a problem. Yeah,
I think the best solution, though, talking about education, is a period of time that we educate, and have a period of time where we're doing our best to educate, and at the end of that period of time is when we rely on officer their discretion to make that choice at that time.
no, that's fine that we have a period of time of education. We're having this discussion for the end block future, right? Not just for the period of time we educate. So the long run is where we're talking about solving the problem, getting the word out. And I like the flyer. I seen the Lombard flyer. It's very well informative. I do like it. I suggest we make a similar one and send that out as our first purpose on e-scooters, something that fits Villa Park and still takes into consideration this so people get it. I agree with Trustee Alfano. People are going to buy it unless they know, and people are going to claim they don't know, and it's an expensive purchase, which even Trustee Cordova made. And once you made the purchase, it's like not something returnable really quick. So it's, they'll do that mainly because transportation of their kids is easier, right? I need to get to the pool every day. I have to drop my kid up at 6 in the morning when they're in the summer, especially when they need to get to the pool swim team. These are the kids that are going to, think e-scooter is it, and e-scooter across the tracks that we're trying to save people from as well. So these are things that are worrisome, and the information out is something, but I think we should also think about after the information period, because we got information out on everything. Even I don't read all pieces of information, as we saw today, that was got out. So it happens that sometimes the information doesn't reach. So something else has to be done. What is our period? We have to discuss, and we have to have a clear flyer at least to start with.
Trustee Cordova.
I think it passed, but, just thinking on timing, the schools are coming out of, they're done tomorrow, some of them. Next week is, Tuesday, the last day, so to use that avenue to get in is gonna be a little difficult, so I do like that. And number one, apologies on the miss of the age thing, I don't know why. But the second piece is that education piece. So yeah, social media is great. Lombard did a great job. I feel like they sent out maybe even mailers. I'm not sure, but if we want to kind of have that end date of whatever date it is, we have to have a very smart way of getting it to people and ensuring that people get it, so.
So I think what we should do then here is, as a board right now, let's say, starting today, since the police department has already done their homework with this, is from today on, we start our awareness campaign and run it through the end of summer. Let's say September 15th. That's enough time to have everybody back at school. It gives our police department an opportunity to educate throughout the summer. And then that way, next summer, when this comes, next spring when this comes.
Or even December, as she said, when people go out to buy
Sure,
a scooter.
correct. Yeah, for the holidays. people are
Yeah, it
aware
will
of-
be better if they're already pre-educated, and if they still don't know, well, then we get to a process, yeah.
So I guess, straw poll, are we in agreement? Oh, trustee Constados.
I'm sorry, just really quick. Is it possible to, trustee Cordova mentioned kids are getting ready to get out of school. Is it possible to get with the schools and say, hey, in your packet of registration, can you guys put something in there stating that, like, these scooters are not allowed on school property? And maybe the schools can help us out by saying, if the scooter is brought, you know, it will be taken, the parent will have to come and get it, because I don't know about you, but I did not want to go to my kid's school to get their phone or their whatever they had that they weren't supposed to have. Maybe we could get involved the school to help us out.
Absolutely. That's a really good idea. I believe it's a really good idea. And I think that's something easy that we as a board and as a village can absolutely work with those partnerships that we have with the school districts to
It would help the teachers out as
that awareness
well.
program. Absolutely. Great idea. So really quick, I would like to just get a consensus vote that we start our awareness program starting now, ending through September 15th, especially in time before the holidays, and also allowing our village, our officers also for their awareness campaign to speak with schools.
May I just make a
Yes.
point? Okay, so the way the law stands now, because the village has not passed an ordinance to permit it and regulate it, is that these low-speed electric scooters are prohibited. So right now, you know, just for direction for the staff, you know, maybe it'll be information that the village board is considering approving and regulating. As of now, the Illinois Vehicle Code prohibits the use of electric scooters in the village, you know, but just letting the board know that the regulations have not been implemented yet, and the approval has not been, you know, approved yet, or they're not permitted yet until the board votes on an ordinance, so.
I understood. That doesn't prohibit us from reaching out to the schools or starting an awareness campaign about the legality of possessing an e-scooter. So I think we can still move forward with the awareness campaign, but at the same time, us as the village board will fine-tune a policy that we can come back to the board and vote upon. Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay.
And are you wanting us to bring an amended, or with the discussion that we had here tonight, there's some suggestions that I think we can incorporate into an ordinance. Do you want us to bring that back for first read at this point, or are we still
So this
in the
is,
discussion?
I think the best way to do this is, yes, bring it back for a first read, and then in the meantime, board members, if you have ideas, concerns, or questions, get them to me so that way we can relay them to the police chief and the manager. So that way when it is brought up at the board meeting, we have kind of fine-tuned that policy if need be at that time. Is that doable?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
If I
Chief.
could throw a point of order out, well, is the board going to allow them? Because then, if that's the case, if you do a consensus, if the board wants to permit them, then you need to have that consensus, and then we would come out with the ordinance, which would allow such usage. If you do not want them, you really don't have to do anything.
So I think that's a good point, and I think right now, let's take a consensus vote as to whether or not we are considering allowing them as opposed to outright banning them, if that's okay. Clerk Falcon.
You want first and second that first?
What's that?
First and second?
That's just a straw poll, we don't need.
Okay. So therefore, trustee Cordova?
So is this to permit?
A consensus to
Permit
permit.
is the first question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
Trustee Constasos?
No.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
No.
Trustee Sadra?
Sabri.
Sorry. Yes. Okay.
We are, what is the council for?
So far, 4-2.
5-3. We have 3 dissents.
Two dissents.
Two dissents,
Two
4-2.
Yeah, 4.
4-2 right now.
Okay, I will, I don't need to vote.
No.
Trustee
No.
Alfano.
So I will stand.
Constantos and Alfano were against.
Trustee Alfano and trustee.
Okay, so 4-2. So moving forward, yeah.
Okay.
So, and that just means we're going to bring something back to
Propose.
It doesn't mean the village.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that we're going to adopt it. So I think that's a good plan moving forward. All right, thank you, Chief. Okay, so moving along, we have Village Commission reports. We have the acceptance of the minutes of the Fund Commission meeting held on March 25th, 2025. Also, the acceptance of the minutes of the Environmental Concerns Commission's Bike, Pedestrian, and Transit meeting held on March 27th, 2025. Do I have a motion to accept the reports?
Make that motion.
Trustee Cansato, second. Trustee Kumar. Okay, roll call vote.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Constantos?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Sabra?
Yes.
Okay,
Sabri.
Sabri. Sabri.
all right. Moving.
Yeah, phoneticals. We got a phonetical spelling for it.
Sabri.
Moving ahead, Village Clerk's report.
No. I have no report.
All right. Village Trustees report, we're going to start on my right with Trustee Constatos.
Thank you. Yes, I would like to thank Public Works crews and all of the residents for coming together and handling the storms that we have recently had and cleaning up all of the debris. It's nice to see our village come together and help each other out, but to also help out the crews. So I wanted to say thank you very much for that. Also, I wanted to say thank you to Cheryl Wagner for the after swear-in party that she put together. It was a wonderful event. The food was good. Everybody being there, it was a very nice party. So I wanted to say thank you for that, and that's all I have.
Okay. Trustee Cordova.
Just really quick, he's not here today, but Greg Gola, he is retiring from the Village of Villa Park. His last day is June 5th. Kind of want to take a minute. Somebody during a COW kind of took a little bit of time, but we have an incredible Parks and Recreation offering here in Villa Park, and a lot of that does funnel down and go into Greg Gola and a lot of stuff that he's done. So, you know, number one, yes, we have opened up the rec center, which is wonderful. We have Lufkin Park has been remade into, if you haven't driven past it on a warm day, an absolutely packed park. Westmore Park, Willowbrook Park, North Terrace Park, Great Western Trail Train Depot, Cortese, Iowa Community Center, Twin Lakes Park. They have all been renovated in the last 10 years. In 2015, we did a master plan and a comprehensive plan for Parks and Recreation, culminating in 2025 cutting of the Recreation Center. So a testament to Greg Gola's career here in Villa Park, and just a wonderful human in general, but a really, really huge piece of why Villa Park has been successful in our Parks and Rec. So again, June 5th, he will be at a concert in the park at Cortese, which is fitting for him, and that'll be the last day. If you see him, tell him congratulations and wish him well for his retirement. And that's it.
Trustee Kozar.
No report tonight.
All right. On my left, Trustee Kumar.
Yeah, I would like to welcome trustee Sabri to our board, since he was sworn in today. It's nice to see a diverse board, and I appreciate that. I would also like to say a few words about Greg Gola. He has been a wonderful support to our park system that cannot be forgotten, especially with a lot of turnovers. He came through for us with this new recreation center, and it's actually great. I am sorry to see him retire. I do hope that we fill this position with someone equally worthy and accomplished. And I will be sorry to see him gone on June 5th.
Trustee Sabri.
I'm very honored to be part of this board. Very humbled. As some of you know, I have worked with the staff before, and I do ask a lot of questions, and some of those questions, they were answered this afternoon by our Director, Gola. I'd like to say thank you to President Patrick giving me this opportunity and selecting me part of this board. And we all know what I have done for this village in the past, and I'm looking forward to bringing a lot more to see this town prosper and grow. Looking forward to working with all of you. My doors are always open. I come to you guys for assistance. Staff has been very cooperative as in the past. Director Mark has helped me multiple times in different occasions. I'm not new to this community. I'm a resident of this community for almost 40 years plus. And I know we need a lot of work, and I'm looking forward to working with you guys to see this town prosper, and let's bring new things to this town. Appreciate all of you, and looking forward to serving for the next 2 years.
Excellent. Excellent. Trustee Alfano.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome Trustee Sabri.
Thank you.
I know that you will do great things, and it will be an honor to serve with you. I want to thank Public Works for all of the work that they did with the storms. I do have one question that I keep being asked. Are we still doing pickup? If we're putting them off to the side, we're still doing pickup, right? Okay, cool. And we just have the best neighbors. I would watch people stop their cars and get out and help. And I just think that it's just a great community that we live in. So thank you, everybody, for showing who Villa Park is. I really appreciate seeing that. Thank you to the volunteer staff and to Environmental Concerns Committee for hosting the annual Spring Sweep this past Saturday. It is a valued annual event in our community. And then I did attend our library. Our library does some really great programming, and I did attend recently on May 10th. They did an event with filmmaker Pamela Einsweiler-Police. And she presented, I'm bringing her name up because she is a Willowbrook graduate and grew up here in Villa Park. She presented a film that she is trying to get out on Dick Biondi. If anybody grew up in the area and you know who Dick Biondi is, she's really trying to get the word out and kind of honor him as from the fan perspective. And our library invited her to show a half an hour of her of her documentary, and it was just really nice to see where people who are from here and where our community grow and the impact that they have in the world. So I thought that that was really neat. And also, I'm an educator, so I do have a visual for this. The Fund Commission is asking for you to consider, in conjunction with the College of DuPage 2025 Summer Art Exhibit, there's the Hokusai, and I think I'm going to get this right, the Ukiyo-e, the Floating World. Villa Park has become a community partner in the COD public art project called Waves of DuPage. Artist Rich Lowe has created a banner celebrating our newest pride and joy, the Villa Park Recreational Center, in the style of Ukiyo-e. The Fund Commission is holding a reception at the Community Center to introduce our banner on Friday, May 23rd from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. You can meet the artist and curator Justin Witt and the MAC director Diana Martinez and learn what Ukiyo-e and the Floating World is all about. view some copies of woodblock prints and see how they have influenced art today. Have some snacks, take a photo in front of the Great Wave, and enter in a drawing to win a Lego Great Wave. It's a lot of pieces, so you really gotta like Legos if you want to put this all together, but it does look really beautiful when you put it together. If you can't make it that night, the banner is gonna be up at the community center all summer, so it'll be there for you to experience and take pictures in front of. We hope that you can be there on the 23rd. That's all I got.
Thank you. I'm glad that you pronounced that Hokusai.
Working on it. My art
Because
teacher-
I was struggling on how to say that.
The art teacher at school helped me out with
Glad you
that.
did it. And what an exciting opportunity for Villa Park moving forward. And I hope that everybody has an opportunity to get out there to the rec center and see that in conjunction with DuPage County as well. It was great. Thank you for bringing that up. So moving along, first of all, a few months ago, not too long ago, a few of us board members were dressing up like 80s WWF wrestlers, and we jumped into a cold lake, all in the name of Special Olympics here that was hosted on behalf of our Villa Park Police Department. And I will reiterate that that was a very fun experience. But keeping in that light, we had another event that happened over the weekend with Cop on a Roof. And the police department raised over $4,000 in support of Special Olympics. So a good shout out to the Villa Park. Kudos to you. It's always a fun time, always a good group of people to do that with. So I'm looking forward to jumping in a lake next year or whenever we need to. Also, this weekend I had the opportunity of spending some time with the Villa Park VFW Post 2801 handing out poppies over at Jewel Osco. In doing so, we had some really good discussions about how supporting the VFW and more particular the 4th of July parade that is coming up. And it sounds like each year over the last couple of years we have enhanced this parade, also due in part to our new trustee Khalid Sabri, as part of the planning process with the VFW there. But there are some surprises coming. We have some good people coming into the parade. So with that being said, there are the VFW is still accepting applications if you'd like to march in the parade or have your organization or your company or your business be a part of that parade. I will say each year it's getting better and better, and thank you, Khalid, for putting that on, Manager Harline as well. So with that being said, that's all I have. Village Manager report.
I just had a couple of items. Most of them have already been mentioned. I was going to mention the spring sweep. Trustee Alfano already mentioned that, but that's a great event, and it does take a lot of volunteer effort, as well as assistance from the Public Works Department. Rich Salerno and Riley did a great job with advertising on that. The estimate was 368 cars through, as well as 16 bicycles for working bikes, and 30 flags for proper destruction with the VFW. So that's a great event. I was not able. I was out of town this weekend, so it was the first year I had not brought stuff through. But it was that is a annual event that's very valuable in the village. Thank you for all the people who put effort forward on that. And July 4th, I was also going to mention, but you covered most of that. I will add, we're still looking for parade sponsors. If you are interested, and if you are interested in recruiting parade sponsors, we like to get your information in by Friday, so we have your logo and everything, so we can put that in to the on the banner and other on the website, and so that you can get proper adulation for being a sponsor. And particularly, I wanted to thank Safariland for the third year in a row. They've agreed to be the presentation sponsor, which means they put in $2,500, and they're going to be helping us hand out the prizes for the parade. That will be, it is getting better, and I think it's accurate to use this as a segue to, I don't know if I'm complimenting President Patrick on such an excellent choice, or I'm glad to see that Khalid Sabri is, I've been always saying it the wrong, I've been putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable up to this point, but Sabri is the new trustee, and we're lucky to have you. So thank you for agreeing to do it. It's a lot of work, but you're a good man on board. And then I'll be sending an email out to the board this week with update on, there's, one thing that's come up is we haven't ever given most of the members of the board any chance to have like a t-shirt or a polo shirt. So at the request of the board, we're going to give you a chance to select that, and I'll be sending out a chance for you to give us your sizes and that sort of thing. So, and then, I wanted to thank, oh no, I already covered that with July 4th. There was the fourth item was Khalid, so that's all I've got.
Okay. We will be moving along into executive session tonight per 5 ILCS 120/2, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, specific individuals who serve as independent contractors in a park, recreational, or educational setting, or specific volunteers of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee, a specific individual who serves as an independent contractor in a park, recreational, or educational setting, or a volunteer of the public body, or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. There's more. 5 ILC 120-2, the purchase or lease of real property for the use of public body, including meeting held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired. And also 5 ILCS 120-211, litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of closed meeting. Whew, mouthful. Could I get a motion to go into executive session? Trustee Kumar.
I will make that motion on that mouthful.
All right. Can I get a second? Trustee Alfano. Okay, and we will adjourn from executive session. And our next stated meeting is... Oh yeah. Any discussion? All right, roll call vote. Thank you.
There you go. Trustee Cordova.
Yes.
Trustee Constantos.
Yes.
Trustee Kozar.
Yes.
Trustee Komar.
Yes?
Trustee Alfano.
Yes.
Trustee Sabria.
Yes.
And of course, Village President Kevin Patrick.
Yes. Okay, we are adjourned, or we will adjourn from executive session. Thank you, everybody.